Right, hi there guys. This video is going to be about using Fusion 360 to create the two front axles for your steering, the rear axles, and we're going to build a wheel which can then be copied and pasted for 4 wheels on your frame. Hopefully by the end of this video you'll have your frame done, your wheels and axles all completed. Then it'll just be a matter of completing your steering, details like the seat, steering wheel, etc., and finishing the body off. So I'm just going to fire up Fusion 360, click on the origin to create the origins. The difference between Fusion 360 and Solid Edge, one of the real big ones, is that in Solid Edge you'd build all your parts as separate parts and then open up an assembly window and assemble them within that. Within Fusion 360 you build your whole project in the same window. So I'm just going to open up the frame we did last session. So this is going to be the base for all the rest of our drawings. The important thing to remember is you need to save everything as a separate component. So as you can see here, my frame is a complete component. So we're now going to create the front axles that are going to fit in these brackets I've mounted to the front of my frame, and then rear axles, a rear axle for the rear wheels, and then go on to create the wheels to go on those axles. So this little button here is activate component, but my frame is already activated. This top one activates all components from the drawing. So that's fine, we're just going to leave that activated, and we're just going to right click on that, and you'll see this little window comes up, and I want to create a new component. So I'm going to make that, if I just double click on that, front axle, A-X-L-E-E-L. Okay, now that button's activated, so the front axle is activated. So when we sketch this, it doesn't, our front axle doesn't really associate it with the rest of the frame. It's going to create as a separate part. But you can reference bits and pieces of this frame to complete your front axle. So I'm going to use a bracket I made for my axle. So I'm going to extrude a circle. So it's just going to be a sketch, circle, center circle, and I'm going to want it start it on this bottom of this here, the bottom of that bracket. Make sure that is highlighting. Yep, there we go. Okay, so I know my axle has to fit in this hole here. I think that was 12, so my axle is going to be 12 mil. And then I'm just going to extrude that straight up. So if I go to modify, you can either use the extrude button or the modify, either or does the same, very similar. So I just want to highlight that circle, and you see a little arrow comes up, but I don't want to pull it down, I want to pull it up. Right through, and I want to come up, I can't remember how far up I need to go. That's why that was 80 mil, there's 80 mil to the top of that. Now what we're going to do is add a bit of plate to the top. So if I make it with a bit of clearance, make it 82. 82 will do for now. Sorry, it should have been negative 82. Stop sketch. Modify. You can see over here, it's a negative. I typed in 82 instead of negative 82. So I went down instead of up. Okay, so that should have pushed my first part of my axle. Okay, this is the pivot for our steering. So obviously you're going to want an axle to come straight off the side of this. There's two ways you can do this. But probably the easiest way is to create a construction plane in the middle of this axle, draw another circle and extrude it out. I want to construct A mid-plane, like between two faces or work planes. That might not. So I'm just going to do an offset plane. Might be the easiest thing to do. I'm going to offset it from this face here. And that was 50 mil to the center, I think. That's going to make it 25 to that center of that axle, which looks pretty good. No, it's 50 minus 3, it's going to be 22. 22. Oh, no, it'd be but half the 3. Construct. Offset plane. It was 50 mil from this face. It must be 25 from that face. It doesn't look in the middle, 25. Must be 27.5. Don't know what's happened. I should have measured that first. Okay, so this plane is now set up in the middle of my axis. It's 27.5 from this back face. I should check my drawing to see what the sizes that actually were. So that is now set us up a drawing plane. So we can now put a sketch on top of that plane. So it's just going to be another circle, center diameter, and we're just going to select this plane we've just set up in the middle of my axle. Now I'm going to want my wheel to come out of the middle of here. If you hover any of these lines, you'll see a little triangle pop up. That means you're in the middle. Just click there, and it's going to be 12 mil as well. Modify. Control. I should be able to. I'm not picking up that circle for some weird reason. Okay, I'm going to go. I'm going to have a go at doing this another way. It's not picking. I can't seem to select that circle because it's buried in the middle of that shaft. Okay, so what I'm going to do is construct a new plane, offset plane. I'm going to bring it right to the front. Okay, so I'm going to drag that plane right to the front of that enter. So now we've got a construction plane right on the front. Redo my circle on this plane here. Stop sketch. Then I'm going to extrude that out. I'm not quite sure why. I've got a sketch in my wheel here, so I'm not quite sure how wide that wheel is going to be. So I'm going to make it just 100. I'll look at a sketch first. My wheel width. And my wheel width is 100 mil wide. So if I make this 150, we should have heaps. Cancel. Oh, it's coming up as cut. I want join. Enter. Okay, I want to do the same thing. I want to pull it back into the center bit here. Okay, just into that center. Okay, and that's joined my X up nicely. Okay, so now I'm just going to put the steering arm on top. So I'm just going to sketch that straight on that face. So give me a sketch. It's a rectangle by 2 points. This is going to point back and towards the frame. So I'm just going to roughly sketch it in, then sort it out, the dimensioning of it out in a minute. Click D for dimension. This is just going to be some, say, 30 by 5 flat. So it's going to be 15 to the middle, 30 overall. And 100 long. Okay, so I've got a couple of mil clearance, which is perfect. I'm going to modify that and drag it up, make it just add some 5 more flat bar. 5, enter. Oops, I should have selected that inside circle. So go back, stop sketch. So when I select modify, I should have selected that this inside circle as well, and drag the whole up at 5 mil. Okay, so that's made that one whole component. We've still got our mid plane here, so I should be able to mirror this whole. I just want to poke a hole in there for the steering first. Sketch circle, circle by center. Select the top of your steering arm. Make that 12 as well. D for dimension. 15 and 10. I've got 10 back. I'm just going to bore that through. So modify, circle, -5, enter. So that is the start of our steering. Very simple, very basic steering. You can go way more complicated on yours than mine. I'm just going to add a few little radiuses to this steering arm just to make it look a bit more professional. So it's just modify, a fillet. A fillet's the easiest one to do. I know this is 30 mil across. So I'm just going to go through, select all these edges. Okay, I'll make these 10 mil. Just rounds off those edges nicely. Now we're going to just mirror this onto the other side. Problem is we'll switch that arm. Let's see how it goes. Modify, create. I want to go create mirror. I want a body, which is this whole arm. Select plane, which is going to be it's not going to let me select that mid plane. I need to do a new mid plane for this. I need to construct mid plane on its between this face here. Construct mid plane. There we go. Create mirror on bodies. select this whole body, select your midplane. Okay, and let's mirror that straight over the other side. Okay. So these actually pivot. So what we need to do is create a join in these brackets. It's going to allow these two brackets to pivot. I think also we need to separate out these two front axles. If we go body 2, we're going to create new components from bodies. Make that front axle 2, axle 2. So hopefully when we move this one, it moves in separate, that one. That's perfect. Okay, so now we're going to start assembling. So when we can actually get this to move as it should. So I'm just going to click assemble. I'm going to click joint, capture position, because we're just going to leave those there for now. So we now need to pick up the center of the bottom of this axle, and we need to pick up the center of the bottom center of your bracket, which is just there. And you see in the little pop-up box here, it's come up as a rigid joint. We don't want it rigid, we want it to be able to rotate. So we want to click the revolve. So that will allow that whole joint to turn. You can see when you click the button, it actually does a whole rotation. The Z-axis, okay? And we need to do exactly the same for this one. If you right-click your mouse, you can go repeat joint, middle of the axle, just in the middle of that plate, and it revolves. Okay, it's perfect. So now, what we just need to do is make sure that our frame is grounded. So we go back to the frame, we're going to activate the frame, right click on it, and it should come up as ground. Where are we? Name views. Oh, we've got frame 1. Here we go. Sorry, I was on the overall drawing. So right click on that and ground. If you click on the ground button, that will stop this frame from moving when we try to shift everything else. If we go and activate the whole drawing again, we can then select, little arrows come up on these, double click on those. We can then start activating our steering as the way it's meant to actually move. Okay, so that's the front axle. Our rear axle is going to be really simple. It's going to be just some tube popping out the back of our frame. As I said, you can make this as easy as complicated as you wish to. I know that's 25 by 25 and it's 1.6 in the middle. So what I'm going to do is sketch my axle straight within this tube. So the first thing is I'm going to draw a square on a rectangle by center. No, the first thing I do is start a new component. So right click, get out of that sketch. Right click your top one, new component. I'm just going to type rear axle. Double click and type rear axle. Okay, so that's going to deactivate all this and start up a new sketch for you. So when we want a rectangle from center rectangle, and we just want it right in here. And we're just going to pick up the center and just going to draw this a nice snug fit into the middle of there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extrude this back into the axle. Modify, make sure I'm only picking up So I'm just going to pull that back. I'm going to say 20 mil would be good. 20, negative 20. That should have been. Okay, it's just give me a nice little block that I can weld into the frame. Now I'm going to sketch a 12 mil rod that comes out. And it's going to be my rear axle. Very simple, on a center circle on this face. 12, enter, stop sketch. Modify. I want to bring this out 150 as well. Okay, so now we've got a rear axle and front axle. All we need to do is duplicate this onto the other side. So we can either mirror it again, or you can, another easy way to do is right click your rear axle, copy it, come up to the top here, activate the whole frame, right click on it and click paste, and that will paste new, because we're going to do it as a separate axle. Okay, at the moment, so what that's done is that's pasted this rear axle here into right on top of the other one. So what we can do is then just grab it and we can move it up. So what we want to do is mount this rear axle into this rear part of the frame. So we're just going to do another join. We want to pick up the center of this axle. So we're going to do a joint, capture position. Okay, we want a rigid joint before we do a revolve. So we want to change that to rigid. We want it locked in solid as. So you can see that's just going to pick up the center of that square block in the front face. So I click there and bring in it's not going to pick up because there's nothing actually in there. If I click there, no, it's not going to do it. Because there is no face to line up, cancel. What we can do is we can line up this corner here, go back to join, capture position, because we don't really want to move back to the original. We're going to line up this corner here on this front face. And flip this back. It's coming, give me a revolve, I want a rigid, and I want to flip it. I'm just going to rotate that. No, it's picked up the outside corner, not the inside. Just going to zap back out of that again. It might have been easy to mirror it in the long run after all this. Create mirror, objects, my axle, whole body, select mirror plane. Okay, go okay. Okay, maybe copying and pasting wasn't the right thing to do in that instance. Okay, so now we've got basically all our axles. So now I'm going to create a wheel component and then build my wheel, suit my drawing, which I've got right here. So if we go activate your whole frame again, right click, new component. We're just going to call this front wheel 1 because we're going to have 4 wheels. So we just need to separate out. Front wheel 1. Okay, so it's activated, so now we can start drawing the wheel. So we're going to start drawing it round, right around my axle. So just going to find my drawing. I'm done with it. So I've got a boss that's 30 diameter, so sketch circle by center. Bring this right into the axle. So I'm going to start drawing it right on the end of my axle for starters. So that's 30 diameter. Actually, I might just pause this video right here and we'll start a new one that does the wheel onto the axles. I think I'm starting to run out of time for the recording. So we'll just Control Z that, Control Z, get rid of all that, stop sketch. We'll just leave it with the frame, go back, activate the frame and axles. I'm just going to quickly I'm just going to leave it at that for now, and I'll come back into a separate video that constructs the wheel on top of those axles for you.